I am the Shadow Teacher. And way back when, in another lifetime, in a galaxy far, far away, I was in college. And there's a cartoon show I used to love when I was in college called The Big O. It's a Japanese cartoon. And being someone who grew up with Voltron and Transformers, I was all about a cartoon show that ended in a giant robot battle. But there was so much more to the Big O than just giant robots battling it out. All episodes ended with that. See, this was around 1999, and movies like The Matrix and Fight Club were big at this time. And the Big O was very much in alignment with the zeitgeist. The story revolved around a negotiator, a man named Roger Smith, I believe. I could be wrong on that name. And Roger Smith lived in a futuristic dystopian world in a city known as Paradigm City. And in this post-apocalyptic world, all the cities were under domes. Cities were in the domes. And Paradigm City was known as the city with amnesia, a city where people were living out programs, but they had fleeting glimpses of a world that existed before what they currently know. And those who had knowledge of the past, had knowledge of the truth of the history of their world, these individuals were highly valuable and their lives were in danger. And Roger Smith, much of the time, would end up in negotiations with hostile parties, and the highest prize was consciousness, was memories, was a link to the past, knowledge that helped the people get a clue of who they are, who they were, and where they came from. And in the beginning, it's just a job for Mr. Roger Smith, but as he goes on more of these cases and there are more robot battles, again, at the end, all these adventures, all these cases he's hired on end up in a giant robot battle. He gets more and more curious about who he is and where he came from. And eventually he meets up with someone. You see this imagery. You see imagery of these tomatoes with barcodes on them. And you see these images of these generic looking human beings, all identical, all copies of copies of copies and they're all red and they have barcodes on them, all bald headed red, and then the imagery of the tomatoes with the barcodes. And you get this hint that maybe the people were grown, not born, and were maybe the product of some mad scientist. And ultimately, what this story tells is that those who control the present control the past, and those who control the present control the future. And there are some people who have a spark in their soul that puts them on a path that's at odds with the direction that the controllers want to take the world in. And this is the case with Roger Smith. There's a spark in some people who want to find out the truth of who they are, where they came from, and what they're capable of. And they want to live up and embody that potential of what that spark tells them they are capable of. And such individuals, again, are always meeting great resistance from the outside world. And there is a concerted effort for them to just give this path up and just accept the programming and the stories that have been presented to them. But they rebel and they reject and they take the ultimate chances and take the ultimate risks. This is the hero's journey. This was the hero's journey of Roger Smith and the dark world that's shown to us in the Big O. But all that's just fiction, right? I'm the Shadow Teacher, and I'll see you on the other side.